Hello everyone, it is Wine Ambassador Kim here, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to determine if your wine is balanced. So here's a fun exercise to do. What you're going to need is 5 wine glasses. So grab 5 wine glasses. Grab a nice bottle of dry red wine. I'm using Bentgate. And you're gonna need a lemon, or just a slice of lemon, or some lemon juice if you want. Some vodka. Grey Goose is one of my favorites. Some sugar. And some tea, something like Earl Grey. Hey Jess, I'm gonna do what was I gonna say? So yeah, something like Earl Grey is perfect. So 5 wine glasses, a bottle of dry red wine, and definitely not a fruit forward dry red wine. Something definitely dry. So Spanish wines are great. They're generally never fruit forward. Vodka, sugar, and like Earl Grey tea or any black leaf tea. You're gonna pour about an ounce and a half of wine in your wine glass, and then put a squeeze of the lemon juice in one of the wine glasses, an ounce of vodka in the other wine glass, about a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon of sugar in the other wine glass, and then steep your bag of tea in the 4th wine glass. And then in your 5th wine glass, you're going to leave it unadulterated, just beautiful wine. Wait about 20 minutes. Let the sugar mix in, the vodka mix in, the lemon mix in, the tea mix in, and then we're going to taste. So I did this already, so I'm just going to walk you guys through it. Have a little taste of the wine that has the lemon juice in it. And this is going to teach you about high acid in wine. You're going to have your control wine glass that has it unadulterated. Have a sip of that wine, see what it should taste like, and then have a sip of the wine that has the sugar, the high acid in it because of the lemon juice. And you'll be able to detect, obviously, that wine has more acidity. Acidity is crucial in wine. If you have a wine that lacks acidity, it's called flabby. Acid is what makes wine so great for food pairing, because you think about it, when you have a high acid wine, what it makes you do is it makes you salivate. Right there is where you can detect the acid on your wine. So if you have a sip of wine, let it touch the sides of your tongue. If your mouth starts to salivate, that's telling you the wine has high acid. Rieslings are super high acidic wines, Gruner Veltliner, some cool climate Chardonnays, like anything in Chablis region or like Washington State. If it hasn't been oaked and no malolactic fermentation has gone on, those wines are going to make you salivate. Sauvignon Blancs, generally high acid wines. Those wines are great because they cleanse your palate, they make your mouth salivate, so you're ready for the next bite of wine. A wine that doesn't have acid is going to, again, be flabby, and it's not going to pair as well with food, because acid and food are a great combination. That's why wine generally is such a great combination, or dry wines with food. So you'll be able to tell the difference in your control wine and then your high acid wine. Now go to your vodka wine and have a little sip of that, and then have a little sip of your control wine, and you'll be able to tell the difference. A lot of times when wines have too much alcohol, they'll say, the saying is, it tastes like vodka. 15-16% if it's not balanced. If it doesn't have all the other components that you need to balance the wine, if it just leads with alcohol, that they say it leads with a vodka taste. So you need the acid, and you need the tannins, and you need a good balance of sugar to balance off the alcohol in a high alcohol wines. Wines like Red Zinfandel tend to have a ton of alcohol. but they usually balance really well with the sugar and the tannins so that the alcohol doesn't leave. But if you have a wine that you have a sip and your immediate thought is, oh, I feel like I'm drinking vodka, that's an unbalanced wine. Maybe some people will like the high vodka taste in their wine, especially in 2020. You know, not a bad thing. Now the sugar wine. Have a sip of your sugar wine. Have a sip of your control wine. You'll be able to tell the difference, obviously, because the one that had sugar is going to taste a lot sweeter. Generally, if a wine is too sweet, they describe it as cloying. It's not going to refresh your palate. It's not going to make you salivate. Generally, this is why super sweet wines are not good food pairings, because it doesn't do anything for your tongue to rinse your mouth out for the next bite, because you're not going to get that high salivation attributes. But, you know, sweet wines are good with sweet desserts or just on their own. But again, if a wine is too sweet, too much sugar, it's just described as cloying. And so you want to make sure that you have enough acid in the wine to balance out the sugar, which is why, like, Rieslings tend to be, or Americans tend to like Rieslings sweet. But Rieslings by default are also high acid grapes, so the acid from the Riesling balances the acid in the sugar, so it is not a cloying wine unless you're drinking like a late harvest Riesling. But even then, that late harvest Riesling, even though it has a ton of sugar, still has a high balance of acid, believe it or not, which is why it's still a great structured wine. All right, then the last thing is you're going to have the wine with a tea bag. Tannins and tea leaves are the same thing. So a lot of times when people say to me like, oh, you know, if they don't like black, or if they don't like high tannin wines like, you know, Malbecs or Tannats, it's the stems, the seeds, and the leaves that give the tannins in the wine. And that's what makes the wine heart healthy. That's also found in black tea. So I'm like, if you like to drink black tea, chances are it's probably not the tannins that you don't like, because black tea is nothing but stems and leaves. So, but that's another reason that tannins are great in wines, because tannins are like acid. They will cut those tannins that are rough. It's a texture. You can't taste tannins. You feel tannins. If you drink a wine and rub your tongue along the roof of your mouth, and it feels really gritty, that's the tannins that you feel. It's a texture, not a taste. But that's also what helps cut through fat in food, which is why tannins in red wines are so great. Nothing like a good Barolo, tons of tannin in a Barolo, and a nice a Fra Diavolo or a marinara meatball or a big steak, because the tannins are going to help cut through. But again, you have to have it balanced. If you have a wine that's too much tannins, all you get is grit. And that's why a lot of people are like, I don't like red wines, it's bitter. Chances are they're not ready for the tannins. If you drink a Barolo wine, and I use Barolo as an example because Barolos have a crap ton of tannins. If you drink a Barolo super young, all you're going to taste is grit, which is why generally Barolos are cellared and not sold till 10, even 20 years when the tannins have softened. Try a young Barolo and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But again, you're going to get that effect from this tea leaf soaked wine. Taste that, taste your control wine, and you will be able to tell the difference immediately in the high tannins. So if you have a wine that is balanced and it has a good amount of sugar, acid, tannins, alcohol, all those 4 things come in. Or if it's a white wine, 3 things, because you're not going to get tannins with a white wine because you're not using the stems and the seeds and the leaves. But if you have all those in the right alignment, then your wine is balanced. And that's what they mean when they say the wine is nicely balanced. If a wine is not balanced, it means that it could be too much acid, or too much sugar, or too much tannins, or too much alcohol. So it's a scale that the wine makers have to have in order to make a really well balanced wine, and that's the difference between a good wine and a great wine. Making sure that, you know, not only do the grapes have to grow in the right conditions, but then the people who make the wines have to know how to make it to make sure that it's balanced. It's illegal in most places, definitely in California, but in a lot of places, to add sugar to wine. Adding sugar to wine is called chaptalization. Some cooler climates, like some places in Alsace or cold climate regions where the grapes never have a chance to ripen because it's so cold, they are allowed to add sugar to wines so that they can get the right balance. But as a whole, the goal is to be able to do it naturally without adding sugar, because that's a skill. Anyway, that is my little Psalm Saturday lesson about learning how to tell balance in wine, balance of sugar, tannins, acid, and alcohol. So go ahead and grab your 5 wine glasses, try it yourself, try it with your team. I'm excited to be doing these Psalm Saturday lessons with you guys. Wine knowledge is my jam. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Give me a shout out. Cheers. Have a wonderful Saturday, everyone.